just happened in New York, y'all. They just elected a socialist mayor last November 4th. Old gen Democrats are kind of weary about the new mayor, and conservatives, they are losing their shits. Socialism has no place in America. Take a look at Mao's China, Fidel's Cuba, Ho Chi Minh's Vietnam, all failed states that decided to implement communism at some point in history. But the new mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, is set to head in that direction. The real question is Zohran Mamdani really a socialist communist like the conservatives are claiming him to be? A bit of context, y'all. America has a long-lasting tradition of having to resist anything government-related. Do not infringe upon my civil liberties. Do not. Now, the real question is why? Why, in fact, are they so resistant upon government involvement? Well, if you go back in history, the founding of the country has always been like that. In 1776, they launched a war against Great Britain, and after a lengthy war, they finally broke free of their British rule and established their new country, United States. And the founding fathers decided to write their constitution. We all know the First Amendment, free speech, Second Amendment, bear arms. Everybody in this world knows America is known for their guns. Fourth Amendment, protection of unreasonable searches and seizures. Fifth Amendment, right to self-incrimination. There are 27 amendments in the Constitution, but I really want to take a look at the 10th Amendment. It is really critical. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So basically, in layman terms, it gives right to state autonomy and personal freedom. So what that means is that states, they have rights. Now, it had some good intentions. Let's be real. States have the right to implement a policy that best suits for them instead of relying on the federal government, creating a blanket statement that may or may not be beneficial to them. Despite the good intention, there has been some unintended consequences. The main one is that it gave wave to a massive wave of echo chambers.
Neoconservatism, where does it arise from? It arises from Jewish leftists who were mugged by reality when they saw the surprise attack in the Yom Kippur War.
Yeah. So what you have to realize about the left when you talk about extremism is they hack words that once had real meaning and they take them for their own nefarious goals, right? So they'll say racism and you'll go, oh my God, no, really, racism used to exist, but now it means organizing your pantry.
Well, you need better paying jobs, and Democrats want nothing but socialism and everything for free, and taxes go through the roof. That's the problem.
Can you define socialism?
Certain groups have been blocking and preventing improvement in societal's condition. I think about the conservatives mainly.
Healthcare is not a right. Healthcare is a commodity.
And more specifically, if you look at recently to the states that refuse societal change, I can think about Medicaid expansion. As of today, many states in the United States have refused the implementation of Medicaid. Now, I don't know if it's just special interest groups blocking it, ignorance of people, hatred, or just crab of the bucket mentality. Regardless of who it is to blame, we can all agree that without a unified goal, it leaves way to one group wanting change and another group wanting things to stay the same, and it gives ways to half in, half out, half-assing things, and you end up having the worst of both worlds, which is currently happening today in every societal thing. Healthcare, education, immigration. There is a lot of money being spent maintaining the status quo whilst not having meaningful progress. It doesn't help that media definitely plays a big role in this division. Now, there's a big rivalry in terms of media that is currently circulating in America today. Fox News versus CNN. This is one of the biggest rivalry ever. It's similar to Real Madrid and Barcelona, Cavaliers versus Golden State Warriors, Calgary versus Edmonton. It is a big shit show. Republicans, they look at CNN, MSNBC, ABC, and they state that it is
fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
And Democrats, they look at Fox News, Newsmax, and they refer it as political propaganda and opinions. Not to play devil's advocate, Fox News have been found liable of defamation and misinformation and were sentenced to pay $1 billion in fines. But hey, I'm staying neutral in this. Now let's go back to New York. New York has always been a city that has been a hotspot of crime, with the mafias running the streets in the 1900s all the way up to today, with low-level thugs running the streets, murdering people, dissing each other is real. There's also lootings, robberies, retail theft, trafficking, illegal immigrants pouring inside the city and receiving five-star hotels, medical treatment, and debit card, transportation crimes, and if you decide to do something, you get prosecuted. I can think about Daniel Penny.
Tonight, Daniel Penny cleared of all criminal charges in that deadly chokehold that took the life of Jordan Neely on a New York City subway.
High rent and housing unaffordability, homelessness, crack epidemic. Those are some of the issues pointed out by conservatives, and then I can mainly point out to Cash Jordan when I was watching his videos last year reporting about the state of New York. And with the federal indictment of past mayor Eric Adams and the dismissal of the case pressured by the DOJ and the essay allegation of Andrew Cuomo and the mess in the city, it pushed resident for change. And who else who can run the city and that is a strong, charismatic, and smart leader? Zohran Mamdani. Conservative, liberal, left, right, up, tall. We can all agree that the state of New York is not at its fullest potential and something needs to be done. Here are some of the policies that Zohran Mamdani has been pushing and have been deemed controversial. Freezing rent on rent-stabilized home and making more homes, city-owned grocery stores, free public transport, creating a Department of Community Safety, freeing up resources for cops in order for them to do their jobs correctly, and more importantly, raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers by 2%. And that, my friend, caused a shit show for conservatives.
Congratulations, New York. You just elected a man who promised that he was going to pay all of your bills using the money from anyone who makes over $1 million a year. Currently, there are roughly 80 to 90,000 millionaires that live in New York City. But now, Mamdani would like to jack up their taxes another 2%, as well as hike up corporate rate taxes on top of it.
Some of these policies are already put in place in many other cities around the world. Stockholm, Oslo, Singapore, Tokyo. But for conservatives, that is too much. That is a straw that broke the camel's back. Zohran Mamdani has gone too far, and he is turning New York City into Venezuela. During the past week, I've been seeing a lot of videos regarding Zohran Mamdani, people fear-mongering on them.
Give it a year when your life sucks and you can't walk outside without the fear of being raped or abducted, and your little sisters and your little female cousins that are 9 years old, they can't go into a bathroom in public by themselves because they're a Pakistani man jerking off in there. Don't say we told you so.
People making simple stuff into a huge controversy.
If New York elects that Zohran Mamdani guy, good luck. New York will be turned into a mosque.
He seems like such a walking contradiction to me.
Exactly.
Because he talks the language of the far left when it comes to things like abortion,
homosexuality,
sex, homosexuality, which are anathema to most Muslims. So he's doing that, and then at the same time, is he a practicing Muslim?
Like Zohran Mamdani was eating with his hands, and people made a controversy out of it. Make it make sense. And for the white supremacists, they compare Zohran Mamdani to a Muslim terrorist. And they often say, if Zohran Mamdani is the mayor of New York City, there's gonna be another 9/11.
Tomorrow is election day in New York City, and just over 2 decades after 9/11, you can decide if you want to vote for the guy who's campaigning with the dude who repeatedly says Americans deserved 9/11.
And the most ironic part is, Zohran Mamdani was 10 years old, and he was still living in Uganda. Where's the correlation? Now, you would think that the government would step in, take everybody's homes and give it out to everybody. A 100% tax, a Gestapo police, banning private ownership and corporations. But no, those are just small tweaks in the capitalistic system that we have in New York City that is causing everyone to panic and to fear monger. I mean, you could make a point that residents in New York are kind of scared about Zohran Mamdani, but you got people from out of state, Texas, or even Florida complaining about Zohran Mamdani. It makes zero sense. Like I said, it's not only Republicans that are scared about Zohran Mamdani. Old gen Democrats are also scared of him. A lot of people voted for Andrew Cuomo, even though technically he is a Democrat. But since he has lost against Zohran Mamdani in the primaries, he had to run as independent. Surprisingly, 855,000 people voted for him with a voter share of 41%. So there's a huge chunk of the population in New York that voted for a alleged SA offender. Ironically speaking, most of the policies that Zohran Mamdani is trying to push would be equivalent to the policies of liberals or the NDP up here in Canada. And I would even argue that what the NDPs or the liberals are pushing here in Canada are way more left in the political spectrum than what is Zohran Mamdani is pushing forward. Let that sink in. That right here is the current state of America. Any policies that seem just about left is deemed controversial and socialist or communist. In conclusion, the state of America is so far gone and so divisive that a policy that will help Americans meaningfully long term is deemed controversial. Now, I will give credit where credit is due in the higher up people convincing people that they are better than the other common man. Actually, I would even argue that the higher up people put some people in a slightly higher up position and convince them that they are better than the other common group. And with that, mixed in with money, charisma, physical appearance, those people will fight as if they are defending their family members. Now, do I believe that New York will become Venezuela with the arrival of Zohran Mamdani? No, absolutely not. I would even argue that with the success of Zohran Mamdani's policies in the city of New York City, it's going to have a ripple effect in other cities of America. They're going to look at New York and be like, holy, New York is thriving right now. We need to implement those policies immediately. And we need to stop fighting against each other and come together and find a meaningful long-term solution. I would also argue that the quality of life will be way better. There will be less desperate people, and with less desperate people, it means less crime, less drugs, and a more safe society in New York. It will also leave way to more societal change, higher minimum wage, more social protection, more green environment, and less tax burden. But do I agree that the status quo is the perfect solution? Absolutely not. I would even argue that if nothing is done, America will become a third world country with a Gucci belt. I don't know how to end this video. I guess bye.